Sawadee Krap. Hello and welcome to Daily Wisdom, Walking the Path with the Buddha. Today we're going to be discussing the Four Noble Truths. I've come to a forest temple here in Chiang Mai at the base of Doi Satep Mountain. Before we get started, let me show you where I am. Be sure to stick around to the end of the talk where I'm going to provide some guidance for your meditation practice.
This way there.
Everything is impermanent. Hello, welcome back. Today we're going to discuss the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths is the very first discourse of the Buddha and helps you to establish right view. Right view is the first step of the Eightfold Path. And this particular discourse, this particular teaching that you need to learn and understand and then practice is vital for your development to enlightenment or Nibbana. Without this teaching, you wouldn't be able to progress to Nibbana. And this is why Gotama Buddha made it his very first discourse. The Four Noble Truths starts out with an understanding first of what we call the universal truths, or the three universal truths. Let me first discuss these universal truths before we get into the Four Noble Truths. And remember, all of these teachings, they're not based on belief. They're based on you independently verifying the truth through practicing these teachings. So it's important that as you learn these teachings, that you observe these teachings in real life so that you can observe the truth for yourself, which acquires wisdom that you then liberate the mind through wisdom, through attaining Nibbana. The very first universal truth is impermanence, that everything is constantly changing, constantly evolving. There's no steady or permanent state. This is the teaching. But then you need to observe this in practice. The way you observe this in practice is you look around. Is there anything that is permanent? Have you kept the clothes that you're wearing permanently? Or will you keep them permanently? Is your hair permanent? Does it stay the same length all the time? Or is it constantly growing? Your thoughts, your ideas, do you have the same thought all day long? Or is it constantly changing and evolving? What about your relationships, your job, your income, the place where you sleep, your dwelling, the place where you live? Are these things permanent and you've been at the same place or will be at the same place your entire life? No, not at all. So nothing is permanent, but you need to see this for yourself. Don't just take my word for it. Don't just believe anything that I say. You need to be able to observe this for your own practice so that you know that yes, in fact, and it is a universal truth that everything is impermanent. You need to be able to see that for yourself. Don't just take my word for it. So the first universal truth is impermanence. The second universal truth is discontentedness. Many places in this tradition and in these teachings of the Buddha, of Gotama Buddha, you will hear people use the word dukkha for this, or you will hear which is Pali, which is Gotama Buddha spoke in Pali, or you will hear people use the word suffering. I think once you hear what I have to share here, you understand that the word suffering is not the appropriate word which the Buddha described as dukkha, and what we're all trying to eliminate through the practice of these teachings. What dukkha or discontentedness is, discontent, discontented, or discontentedness, this is a state of mind or feelings, right? There's three feelings of discontentness that the Buddha talked about. One is a painful feeling. The second one is a pleasant feeling. The third one is a feeling that is neither painful nor pleasant. Painful feelings are things like sadness, anger, hatred, fears, guilt, shame. These are all painful feelings that the mind experiences, and they're impermanent. The second feeling that the Buddha described as discontentedness is pleasant feelings. Pleasant feelings are like happiness, elation, excitement. These feelings are also impermanent and will lead to discontentedness. The third feeling is neither painful nor pleasant. These are like boredom or loneliness or shyness. These feelings are neither painful nor pleasant. They're kind of uncomfortable. An example of that might be you're sitting on a bus and somebody walks in and sits very, 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 very close to you. You may feel uncomfortable with that because this is someone you don't know. And that is produced by the mind. But in other cultures, it's completely normal, and that person wouldn't be discontent from those feelings of someone sitting very close. So this is how you can see that you actually produce your own discontent feelings. Through painful feelings, through pleasant feelings, and feelings that are neither painful nor pleasant, the mind moves through these various feelings. They're all impermanent, and the mind becomes discontent because it experiences these three types of feelings. So once again, you don't want to believe what I'm teaching you here. You want to look at it for yourself so that you know that it's a universal truth. The way that you practice this is the Buddha describes the mind as having a painful feeling, pleasant feelings, and feelings that are neither painful nor pleasant. So in about 3 minutes, he describes the entire functioning of the mind in terms of the different feelings that we experience. So you now need to look at this in practice and decide, are there any feelings that you experience that the Buddha hasn't explained that doesn't fall into one of these three categories? And I've given you some examples of those. So if you need to pause the video and think about this and reflect on it a bit, you can do that. So the mind becomes discontent. These three feelings of painful feelings, pleasant feelings, and feelings that are neither painful nor pleasant. This is the second universal truth, which is called discontentedness, or discontent, or discontented. The third universal truth is called non-self. This is a more advanced teaching that is usually reserved for later in your practice when you're working more closely with these teachings. You have a well-established meditation practice and you're starting to get closer and closer to Nibbana. This is one of the last things on your path to Nibbana that you need to understand and practice. So I'm not going to cover it here in this discussion. We'll have another talk where we discuss the universal truths in more detail. I just wanted to give you a brief summary of the three universal truths. It's the first two universal truths that are the most important to understand the Four Noble Truths. impermanence, and discontentedness. The third universal truth of non-self is something that we'll cover later in more depth in a separate talk. I use the word discontentedness for the second universal truth rather than what most people use as suffering. And the reason why is because Gotama Buddha described this universal truth as a painful feeling, a pleasant feeling, and a feeling that is neither painful nor pleasant. If we describe the second universal truth as suffering, that's only 1/3 of what the Buddha was talking about, the painful feelings. Suffering does not describe the pleasant feelings and the feelings that are neither painful nor pleasant. So as you were reading in the book, I provide a lot more details of why I use this word discontentedness rather than suffering. So now, let's move on to the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths. The first noble truth is that all unenlightened beings will experience discontentedness. So if you experience painful feelings, pleasant feelings, and feelings that are neither painful nor pleasant, you know that you're not yet enlightened. What enlightenment is, among other things, is eliminating the painful feelings of sadness, anger, frustration, irritation, guilt, shame, these types of feelings. We also bring our mind to the middle, that we don't have this extreme excitement or this extreme elation when you're nearing closer and closer to Nibbana. That's the painful feelings, and that's the pleasant feelings, and what Gotama Buddha said to bring the mind to the middle, right? So we don't allow the mind to dwell in these painful feelings. We don't allow them to dwell in these pleasant feelings. Sure, we're still happy. Sure, we still have enjoyable and pleasant experiences, but we're able to quickly bring the mind back to the middle through these teachings and not allow the mind to dwell in either painful feelings or pleasant feelings. And then the third feeling that we understand as discontentedness is feelings that are neither painful nor pleasant. This is boredom, loneliness, shyness, things like this. When we feel our mind going in that direction, we need to cut off those thoughts and bring the mind to the middle, okay? So the very first noble truth is that all unenlightened beings will experience discontentedness of mind, painful feelings, pleasant feelings, and feelings that are neither painful nor pleasant. In the unenlightened state, you're still affected by the impermanent nature of these three feelings. As you near closer and closer to Nibbana, your mind will reside permanently content, permanently peaceful, permanently stable, in an unshakable mental state. That's part of what Nibbana is. In this first noble truth, you can look at your own mind, you can look at your life. Do you experience sadness, anger, frustration, irritation, guilt, shame? If you do, you know that you're not yet enlightened. Do you experience extreme happiness, excitement, elation, and feel that your mind is pulling in that direction? If you do, then you know that you're unenlightened. If you experience loneliness or boredom or shyness, then you know that you're not yet enlightened. The goal in life that a lot of people try to follow is they want to attain everlasting happiness. This is impossible because happiness is impermanent. It's constantly changing. Nibbana is not everlasting happiness because that's impermanent. We can't attain everlasting happiness, but we can attain contented mind, a peaceful mind, a stable mind, an unshakable mind. This is the first noble truth. The second noble truth is that we cause our own discontent mind through craving for things to be permanent when everything is impermanent. Right? You learn from the universal truths, and hopefully you've observed by now that yes, everything is impermanent, but we cause ourselves, or the mind becomes discontent because the mind craves permanence. It has a desire for permanence. It's attached. It has this strong eagerness or this longing for permanence, but everything is impermanent, and this is what causes the mind to be discontent. Some examples of these, because remember, you want to practice this. You don't want to just believe what I'm saying. You want to practice. A great example is you have a life partner. You have a boyfriend, a girlfriend, husband, wife, friend, family member, who you expect to be with you permanently. The mind craves permanence. And when this relationship ends, either there's a disagreement and the relationship ends, maybe two people move away from each other, maybe there's a death, the mind becomes discontent because it craves this permanence in this relationship. It longs, it has this eagerness, this strong eagerness for this relationship to be permanent. And when it's not, which no relationships are, nothing is permanent. So when this relationship is over, either through a disagreement or just parting of ways or through death perhaps, then the mind becomes discontent because it wanted this to be permanent when it's not. That's the second noble truth, that we cause our own discontent mind through craving and clinging, attachment, desire, wanting things to be permanent when everything is impermanent. The third noble truth is that we can eliminate our discontent mind through eliminating attachment, craving, these strong desires, this clinging, this everlasting quest and craving for things to be permanent when nothing is permanent. So we can actually, because in the second noble truth, because we cause our own discontent mind, we actually have the ability to eliminate it 100%. So what the Four Noble Truths becomes, and we haven't covered the fourth one yet, but what it comes to is taking responsibility for your own discontent mind. Oftentimes when something angers us, we blame it on somebody else. Somebody else made us angry. But if you look at this closely in practice, perhaps with your own reflection or with the help of a teacher, you'll be able to see all your past experiences of anger, frustration, irritation, boredom, loneliness. All of these things are based on the mind's interest and craving for permanence when nothing is permanent. In fact, we are causing this discontent mind ourselves, and because we're causing it, if we see that, and we see that truth in this Four Noble Truths, then we can eliminate this discontent mind through eliminating this craving, attachment. And this is where the meditation of breathing mindfulness meditation comes in training the mind to be unattached, training it to cut off thoughts and let things go, so that we can eliminate our discontent mind through eliminating the mind's tendency to crave, cling, attach, and have strong eagerness, strong longing, and desires. And the way that we eliminate 100% of our discontent mind is through the fourth noble truth. The fourth noble truth is the way leading to the complete elimination of a discontent mind is through the Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path is 8 steps that we learn and we practice. This becomes our daily practice, where we're practicing daily how to implement these teachings all throughout our daily life and attain a more peaceful, calm, content, and stable life. We're going to go into this in the next chapter, but we're covering the Four Noble Truths here because it's a foundation for all the other teachings, and it's step 1 of the Eightfold Path, which is right view. So learning the Four Noble Truths, seeing that they are truth, not just intellectually, not just believing them, but observing it for yourself, realizing that those are truths, and then practicing that teaching through taking responsibility for your own mind, realizing that it's not other people that are causing the anger, the frustration, the disappointment, the loneliness, the boredom. It's actually us causing it ourselves. And by us causing this ourselves, we can also eliminate it as well. So just as summary, the first noble truth, all unenlightened beings will experience a discontent mind. The second noble truth, we cause our own discontentedness through craving permanence when everything is impermanent. The third noble truth, we can eliminate the discontent mind by eliminating attachments, training the mind to be unattached, training it to not have this mental longing or eagerness for everything to be permanent, realizing impermanence. That's very important, that we soak into the mind that everything is impermanent. And then the fourth noble truth, is the way leading to the complete elimination of a discontent mind is through learning and practicing the Eightfold Path, which is the next chapter in the book and is the next talk that we're going to do here on a video. Hopefully now you're starting to understand the Four Noble Truths more and more, and you're able to see them and observe them in practice. Because remember, don't believe anything. Make sure that you observe these in practice so that you know that they are true. Through understanding the truth of the Four Noble Truths, you acquire wisdom. The wisdom that you will hopefully acquire here is that you and I, everybody who has a discontent mind, we are responsible for this own discontent mind. We are causing it ourselves. Too often we look to blame other things, other people, or situations around us of what's causing us to be angry. But that's not what's causing us to be angry. We are causing ourselves to be angry. So by taking responsibility for our own discontent mind of painful feelings, pleasant feelings, and feelings that are neither painful nor pleasant, like boredom and loneliness, by taking responsibility for that, we then can eliminate this discontent mind through learning and practicing the teachings. Thank you for watching. I hope you really enjoyed and learned a lot through this video. There's more to come. Thank you so much. Now on to your meditation tip. Because impermanence is so important to understand intellectually, but realize in the mind, Gotama Buddha gave us guidance on meditating on impermanence. So far, I've given you instructions and guidance in the book of breathing mindfulness meditation. This is in chapter 11, where we focus the mind on the breath, bringing the mind to the present moment and cutting off our thoughts. This is taught by Gotama Buddha and will be highly beneficial in training you to eliminate attachment and being able to cut off your thoughts. Because we know that all discontentedness comes from ourself, it comes from attachment. Therefore, the more that we train the mind to cut off our thoughts and not be attached to thoughts, ideas, and perceptions, the more our mind will be trained in daily life to not have attachment, and therefore eliminate feelings of anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, guilt, shame, all these other discontent emotions like boredom and loneliness. So while you're meditating, another thing that you can do that Gotama Buddha taught is meditate on impermanence. For example, right here in this video, you can hear various sounds around me. You might have heard a plane go overhead. It's impermanent. You might have heard a bird flapping their wings. That's impermanent. You might hear a bird chirping in the trees. That's impermanent. Meditating on impermanence, as you're bringing your mind to the middle, notice that you can cut your thoughts and that all your thoughts are impermanent. Through meditating on impermanence or reflecting on impermanence throughout your day and identifying impermanence everywhere around you, then you will know that it's for sure a universal truth. Training the mind to understand that everything is absolutely impermanent. Therefore, when you're in an uncomfortable situation, it doesn't feel so bad. You can eliminate that anger down to frustration, and you can take the frustration down to an irritation, and you can take the irritation down to nothing, where eventually, over practicing these teachings, you feel nothing. You just are content, stable, calm, unshakable mind. So through your meditation practice, not only cut your thoughts and bring your mind to the middle, but notice how all your thoughts, ideas, and perceptions are all impermanent. Realizing this into the mind is like soaking it into the mind and making sure that you realize the truth, that you understand the wisdom in these teachings, that everything is absolutely impermanent. The mind craves permanence and wants things to be permanent. And when it's not, that's when the mind becomes discontent. We can eliminate this discontent mind by eliminating the craving, the clinging, the tendency for the mind to want permanence. We can eliminate that through the third noble truth. And then the fourth noble truth, we can eliminate 100% of the discontent mind through the Eightfold Path. So all these sounds, everything, including this video, is impermanent. Even though it's here on YouTube, it won't be here forever. It will be deleted at some point. YouTube will either close, YouTube won't exist. YouTube is not going to be around forever. Eventually it will come to an end because all things will cease. Nothing is permanent, including Facebook, including YouTube, including the internet. It's not permanent, including your own physical body, your own life. Nothing is permanent. We all need to die at some point. There's only one reason why we die, and it's because we're born. So the goal is to never be reborn ever again. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธภะคะวาพุทธังภะคะวันตังอภิวาเทมิ สวากขาโตภะคะวะตาธัมโมตามังนามัสสามิ สุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามิ นะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสภะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมพุโนสัคขะโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรภูริสาตามาสติสตาตาวามนุสนังพุทโธภะคะวาติ